I'm curious about the Arknights OST, so I wanted to pick another piece to react to. This time I scrolled through the comments of the last video and kind of just picked one at random, so thanks for the suggestions. It's the boss battle theme from Come Catastrophes or Wakes of Vultures, which I believe is an event that happened in Arknights. Again, off the back of doing Undertides last time, I don't really know where I'm going. I've been told by quite a few people that there are lots of different musical genres in Arknights, so I don't know if this is going to be cinematic, jazz, electro, swing, funk, like it could literally be anything. Let's get straight into it. I have my keyboard in front of me. I'm going to use it to help analyze. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so this is immediately starting to feel a little bit more like Undertides to me in terms of the cinematic ambient nature of it. In terms of the key, we are in D minor, and all I can hear so far is a bunch of reversed sounds, a lot of cinematic percussion, and we have that kind of cello, I think it is, melody line going. Extremely dark so far. I'm getting, at least from the image, I'm getting somewhat noir in terms of feel. I don't know if that's at all reflective whatsoever of what's actually happening, what the boss battle is, but that's the feeling that I get from it so far.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't expecting it. This took me a bit off guard. I thought this was just going to be a cinematic epic style track. I wasn't expecting the electronic, very kind of dubsteppy type bass line. We have the electronic drum kit, which I now have in my template as well, so I can play it. This doesn't strike me as a boss battle theme, like in a kind of a nice contrasting way. This strikes me as a kind of like the trailer of a new character being introduced into the game kind of track. I see it like that on some level. But having said that, I do like it when boss battle themes in particular take me by surprise. I'm very much like a typical lyrical melodic type of composer, which I should have said, by the way. I'm Corey Lawrence, or Everything Fantasy. I'm a music composer for games. And when I like composing music, it tends to be very melodic, very lyrical stuff that's quite memorable in a sense. And so I expect boss battle themes to be the same. This is taking my expectations and kind of putting them out the window for a second. In terms of stuff we have so far, we have that repeated electric guitar line. I want you to listen very, very carefully. I don't know how to interpret this one so far. It's really, really interesting. There are so many interesting musical elements that are kind of like not at the forefront, but are still happening at the same time. So we have that upfront electric guitar. We have the vocals that sound like they're being put through a filter, or perhaps just sampled from some kind of old recording or something. We had the kind of the gradual snare drum build-up that sounded something like this. That kind of idea, which you'd expect leans into a kind of a really heavy next section, but I don't feel like that's going to be the case. I think it's just going to continue almost. We had kind of like a key sound in the background that was sort of had this kind of mysterious vibe to it at the same time. So whatever the boss is or whatever the nature of the battle is, I'm expecting something quite intense, mysterious at the same time. An element of kind of like anticipation, like something's coming kind of thing. Okay, we're going into the next section. This is interesting. This is really cool in a way that's quite unexpected. I think I know why it was suggested now, at least in terms of a piece that might not feel like it's sort of like the number one recommended piece you'd ever think to recommend to somebody for Arknights. But it's kind of like, I can see this going under the radar, because it's kind of like, I'm enjoying this, but at the same time, it's not familiar to me in terms of this sort of the standard that you expect, which is kind of like epic brass and like cinematic strings and things like that when it comes to boss battle themes. This is defying expectations in a way that's really, really interesting. And I'm curious if a lot of boss battle themes are like this in Arknights. Because in terms of cores, we only have two actually. It was sort of like, it sounded almost brassy in nature, kind of like this. It's a really cool sound, really kind of like deep. You can almost like feel it inside you, in a sense. Yes. I really love the use of sound effects. So like the one that's kind of upfront are the gunshots. The gunshot sounds, but in particular, the gunshot sounds which are kind of like reverberated and delayed. They're panned left and right, kind of like they're bouncing almost. I'm assuming the boss uses a gun. Surely it has to be the case. Unless there's something deeper that I'm not noticing from this too. But it's a really interesting kind of play because also all the transitions. Usually when you're transitioning from one section of a piece to another, you'd expect things like cymbals, but actually the gun sounds are being used almost as a method to transition parts of the song, which I think is really, really cool. So we're having a repeat of an earlier section, but I thought I'd mention there are a few things happening at the same time. It's kind of like things build on each other. There's nothing that's trying to like dominate the entire mix. We still have that low bassy sound of... We kind of have like a repeating keys type sound, I think it was. We have, of course, the sort of the vocal sound that's being panned back and forward, which interestingly underties it exactly the same thing. Now, I think like it's just massive coincidence that I happen to pick two songs which are... I mean, this is different in terms of genre, but in terms of some of the ideas, there's some similarities. For example, the filtered vocals that get panned and delayed, for instance. That happens in Undertides too. My guess is that this can't be the same composer as Undertide. I'd be surprised. I could be wrong, but I'd be surprised if it's the same person. I want to figure out some of that, the interesting kind of like keys part that happens. I'm just selecting an electric piano sound. It sounds something like the... a lot of chromatic notes, which are notes outside of the key of D minor. And I think that helps just to create the kind of like the spookiness feeling. Because if I played everything in key, it would sound like this. It just doesn't feel as kind of like menacing in a sense, compared to this. Very good. The notes clash quite a bit, and that's what creates that kind of like tension. again, it's just kind of built up of quite simple phrases that just hit you. They're quite pounding, quite edgy. This time it's a... An interesting detail, the strings that are panned left have this kind of weird sort of like manipulated, filtered effect. And if I try and mangle that a little bit, it sounds a bit like this. Why not? One small detail, actually, is that the phrases kind of develop on each other. They almost build, and that's why I think the ending is so impactful. Whereas at the beginning, it was something more like... The notes are quite limited in scope, and I think that's what it's going for here. It's not going for complexity, something over the top. It's going for simple things done really, really effectively, and I think it captures that really, really coolly. So, thanks for the suggestion. Again, it's kind of like, whatever you guys suggest, I will just pick one out of a hat pretty much. Unless there's like a really popular one that gets loads of likes that everybody just wants me to cover. But thanks for the suggestion. Until next time, take care, my friends.